a very troubling development from the ABC and the greatest hypocrisy. Our national broadcaster has updated its guidelines for its staff, and the ABC tells them, avoid language that alienates particular religious or ethnic groups. Now, that to me already spells trouble right there. And it goes on, and this is amazing, do not speak of us or our values in ways that exclude minorities. This is very personal for me. Do not speak of an us, says the ABC. Like, we Australians. Do not speak of our values, our Australian values. Or not when some minorities might be offended, minorities that don't feel like there is an us to which they belong and get angry about it. So I would guess the ABC doesn't want staff saying things like, we Australians, us, we are part of Western civilization. Or maybe even Merry Christmas, because that obviously assumes a sharing of values. And don't, for heaven's sake, say that it's against our values to have a culture where women hide their faces away, have their identity blotted out in public. Don't say those things now, not under these new guidelines about national terrorism reporting or national security. Don't say these things now because there is no us. Now, as it happens, I warned of exactly this problem a year ago. Exactly. That's why this is so personal to me and why I smell some hypocrisy from the ABC. I wrote and said right here, yes, there is no us anymore as a tidal wave of immigrants sweeps away what's left of our national identity. No longer can we assume that Australians share anything but the territory. And that, in fact, is exactly what the ABC's new guidelines assume now. The ABC may not put it in such blunt language. I'm blunt, I'll tell you straight. But absolutely the same assumption. There is no us, according to the ABC. Don't assume it. But when I said that last year, guess what? The ABC went absolutely feral. Claimed like they'd never heard anything so evil, so racist, and said that I should be silenced for views which included some that the ABC itself apparently now shares.
But now to multicultural Australia and the nation's most read columnist, Andrew Bolt, whose rant against foreigners last week marks a new low even for him.
Unity lost to the new tribes. There is no us anymore, as a tidal wave of immigrants sweeps away what's left of our national identity. Another 240,000 foreigners joined us last year alone. Not just crowding our cities, but changing our culture.
Failing to adapt, not fitting in, and swamping the us in Australia, says Bolt. And Bolt has a right to express his views, however toxic they may be. But why does News Corp choose to give them such a prominent platform, when their effect, if not their intention, is to stir up hatred?
No, my intention was not to stir up hatred. That's just yet another ABC smear, yet another defamation. I'm getting sick of it, and Paul Barry, watch out. My real intention was simply to draw your attention to an important fact, one that the ABC now acknowledges, and one that I thought would give us trouble if we did not change tack. As I demonstrated last year, with lots of examples, without common values, we are fracturing into tribes. Australia's turning from a home into a hotel. For instance, in Sydney's Lakemba, nearly 2/3 of all residents there are Muslim, and nearly 70% were born overseas. In Melbourne Springvale, 1 in 4 residents speaks Vietnamese at home, others Chinese. In Sydney's Fairfield, 1 in 4 residents there were born in Vietnam, Cambodia or China, and many struggle with English. And to make it worse, we've got this cultural self-loathing, so they're talking about our values. Apparently, to the ABC, that's wrong. And we have a flag, even our flag, which is supposed to be a symbol of unity, representing an us, is one that many activists now reject.
But the Australian flag, to me, has now become... I identify that with racism. Does anyone else?
to repeat. As I said last year, and I'll say it again, there is no longer an us, not one that we can assume. There's no flag, there's no faith, there's no national day, certainly not an Australia Day, no law or civilisation that can be said to represent us all now or to command our loyalties. And I thought we should try to resist that. Get an us happening. The ABC says, well, true, there is no us, but its staff, and I guess the rest of us, should actually give in. I think we should resist, they think we should give in. I want an us, they do not. You judge which stand is wisest.